Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Impetuous Windmills. This podcast won't have a number because it's not actually a podcast. It's a video. Is it a video cast?
I think they're called Let's Plays.
It's called a Let's Play,
Yes.
and it's a Let's Play number one
Yes.
for Impetuous Windmills, where your hosts Sagramore and Deprava will be Let's Playing Dark Souls, the Prepare to Die edition.
Indeed.
And that's what we're doing, so let's begin.
Alright, let's start this stuff up. Let's start a new game.
Dark Souls is a fantasy RPG, which came out in 2011. And that's the intro. So which class shall we play?
I don't know. Which,
The Ravager.
That's what we had last time. What sex shall we
okay.
be?
Let's be a female.
Okay. And then what class shall we be?
Oh, that's a good question. We could do, like, if we do Sorcerer, that kind of breaks the game, but then we won't be able to beat the DLC. How about... Same with the Cleric, like I mean, any kind of spell stuff will be useless in the DLC.
Yeah, it
so
will be.
Let's just be a warrior, I guess, do the standard.
Alright, I guess we can do the old reliable.
Unless if you want to be a thief or something.
I don't know. I've never done a wanderer or a bandit.
Well, then let's do... What does Bandit look like? Ugh, Bandit looks stupid, do Wanderer.
Okay.
Yeah, Wanderer looks...
Okay, we'll do that.
So, we are a aimless wanderer who wields a scimitar. That is our character's backstory.
Yeah, that's all the backstory you're gonna get.
GIF, do the master key, right?
That's
Isn't
the one that
most-
everybody does, yeah.
Oh god, well then let's not.
Let's do it. Alright.
Alright, by the way, we're getting master keys before it was cool, like back
Yeah.
when we first started the game. Make her... What does Slim look like? There's no difference whatsoever. Top heavy. Ooh, top heavy sounds good.
Oh god.
They all look the same. I don't understand. Take her clothes off and then look at the physiques.
I don't know how to do that.
Is there a way to do that? Oh. Well, then how are we supposed to accurately judge? Just give her average. Never mind. I like top heavy better.
Okay.
There we go. Let's make her a royalty. Let's do Astora royalty.
Okay.
And by the way, all these, to the listeners who haven't played this before, all these sort of ethnicities and nationalities are all nationalities in this game, which we won't actually visit in the game world, but they are all part of it. And we do meet characters from each of these
Yes.
places. So that's just an FYI. I'd say go with braided or pigtails.
Alright. And that looks alright.
Let's do braided, yeah. Plus, if I were a woman in battle, I would braid my hair to get it. Actually, I'd probably just shave it. But if
Yeah,
I had
I
hair,
probably
I
would
would
too.
braid it to move it out of the way. Hair color, let's do something more exotic than black. Do silver.
Alright.
We can work in some fake lore about her being related to Dusk or something.
We can.
That'll be exciting.
Alright then.
So we're ready for this Wanderer.
Alright.
So ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. And then should we speak during the opening video or just let it play?
I don't know, I guess we can just let it play.
Okay, so we'll let the opening video play,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Alright, let's go.
In the before time.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags arch trees and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone scales. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side. Yes, indeed. The dark side brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
All right, and so that is the intro to Dark Souls.
Well, actually, I literally slept
Did you
through part of that.
did you
But
literally sleep?
your loud ass mic scared the shit out of me and woke me up. Okay, so we're okay, Undead Asylum. All right.
Yes.
So let's get started on this adventure.
Yes.
So as you saw in this world, there are undead, and one of them is prophesied to end the fire and bring darkness to the land. And you may or may not be that undead.
Indeed, and that intro sets up a lot of interesting ideas that the game doesn't really hammer right away, but sort of takes up again as the game progresses, such as the idea of souls being a discrete quantity that you can bestow or take from someone, the connection of souls to fire, and the quote-unquote gods of this world being tied to the Age of Fire.
And this is another, as he's looking at this giant demon-looking thing walking around, this is another cool thing about the game, is basically anything you see, you get to go to, pretty much, in this game. Like, the world is really well layered upon itself to where when you see things in the distance, you're basically guaranteed to go there eventually. And as we look at this giant demon thing, later in the game, you will be finding that.
Yes, there are very few sort of horizons that are there just for show, that don't end up becoming places that you do go to. And then this demon here also emphasizes one of the other most prominent aspects of Dark Souls level design is the idea of verticality. In a lot of the areas are not very large in terms of their, I guess, square footage horizontally, but there is a whole lot of up and down. And so as we stand here right now, we see this demon at eye level. And as we progress through the asylum, we end up walking on directly above him, and even on one level above that.
Right, and the structure of the asylum basically mirrors the whole game is going to take place in Lordran, which is the land of the gods. And Lordran itself is also very vertically designed. You have the Lost Izalith and the demon ruins at the bottom, and then it builds up and up to the Undead Burg, and then Anorlando at the top. Then you can go even further down with Ash Lake and all that stuff later on.
Yeah.
But it's all very much just entwined and built upon itself. So actually, that's one of the strongest aspects of the game, in my opinion, is the world and level design is just incredible.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting because it's not just this flat, like JRPG world where you just go on this giant flat horizon. I mean, it's all just built on itself in very interesting ways.
Yeah.
And these bonfires are sort of safe havens in the game where you can save and level up. And if you're logged in, you can see other players. Are you logged in right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
so
good.
We could see other players.
Also, another arbitrary rule I just invented. Anytime you can, Deprava, you have to be human. That way you can get invaded and die, and I can laugh.
I was going to try to do that anyway.
Alright, but that's the rule I made just now.
And then here's another instance of verticality where if you look up as you open this door, you can see the demon up in the rafters. And as you walk forward, you end up with the first ambush of the game.
The first of many hundreds.
And this is actually a callback to Demon Souls, where in the first level of that game, you fought a couple of enemies, and then you were locked in an arena with a demon who could pretty much one-shot you, and you could barely touch him. Only this time, now, you have the option of going another way.
And this Undead Asylum, story-wise, is in the unnamed country from which you hail. The undead are sent north to this asylum, so that's why you're here.
Yeah. And then, of course, we saw in the opening cutscene the setup of the idea that you are, in fact, undead in this game, and that you are not... well, you are human, but there's other rules happening here. That being undead doesn't make you a mindless zombie, but it does sort of set you apart.
Well, you do go hollow and mad eventually.
Yeah, and that there is a difference here. I've never seen him stop on those stairs like that before.
Maybe things will be different this time.
Maybe.
What is the advantage of being a wanderer, even? I've never played that before.
I think you start with high dexterity. Actually, let's check the stats.
Madness.
Yes. High dexterity, decent strength, decent intelligence, and no faith.
Yeah, the thing about Dark Souls classes is that you're really not locked into a class specifically. Basically, any class you start as, eventually you can mold to however you want because of just the way the stats work. The difference being, if you choose a sorcery, you tend to focus on intellect and sorcery and things like that. But between warrior and knight and all the melee classes, really not that huge a difference.
Yeah, it really just starts as more of a initial flavor for your character, and not so much a set path in terms of progression that you have to follow. Because the items in the game have no class requirements, all the requirements are based strictly on stats, then there's nothing to prevent a sorcerer from wearing heavy armor or a knight from wielding pyromancy. It's just a matter of how you want to build your character.
And this guy is the one who freed you from your cell, and he's apparently a wanderer who also tried to go on this quest but failed embarrassingly early.
I know, indeed.
And he's telling you about ringing the bells, which is what we'll be doing once we're in Lord Ran.
And I think that this is one of the biggest strengths of the game, is that in terms of telling its story and telling you what to do as the player, it's very, very subtle. You have these messages on the ground that inform you of things in the beginning, and then you have these NPCs who tell you things, but other than that, that's really it. The game never sort of breaks away to a tutorial menu where it says, in this game, you need to do this and that and that and this. In between playing this, I've been trying to play the game Dishonored that came out last year, and that game is the exact opposite of this, where
nice parry.
Yeah, where every time something new is introduced, the game cuts away to a tutorial screen where it laboriously tells you what this new thing is and how you can use it.
Depravo, let's focus. Don't be negative. Don't be negative. Let's focus on Dark Souls. And as you'll see, as we move around the Undead Asylum, there'll be locked doors and things like that we can't access yet. And that's how a lot of the game is, to where there's a lot of I can't speak anymore. Coming back later and exploring more.
Yeah, I think this is one of the game's hints. This is one of the subtle hints, where this is a door, but it's locked, which implies that you need a key to open it. But you will never find the key to open it while you're here this time, which is a hint that one day you will need to return back to this place, even though the game doesn't tell you how to do that. You actually have to discover that on your own.
Or look on YouTube at a guide.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people... That's what I did. And that's the first boss, super hard. Well, the first time you play it, I mean, it's significantly harder, but we've played this a lot, so we're sort of fans of this.
Well, and see, as we were talking about before the verticality, right below us is that other demon we saw when we left our cell. And when we return, we might go fight him. Although we will, we already told you.
Yeah, oh, by the way, spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
This playthrough, there's going to be spoilers.
And, also, that boss, again, as you saw earlier, he ambushed us and we ran into an alcove. The game developers are actually really good at rewarding you if you sort of take on some of these bullshit challenges they give you. And if you manage to defeat him the first time you fight him, before you've ever acquired your weapon or your shield, you get his hammer as a 100% guaranteed drop.
Right. And I've done that in New Game Plus, but that's it.
I did it once in a regular New Game, and it took forever.
Oh wait, another video.
That one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Alright, and so again, we arrive at Lordran, at the Firelink Shrine, with no indication of what we're supposed to do now, except for this one NPC right here, who we can talk to.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
Yeah, and so he provided a few other interesting little tidbits. One of which is that there are 2 Bells of Awakening, and gave us a very vague idea of where they are. And second, that we are a chosen undead, but we are not the only one. He indicated that there are many, which means that even though we've been set up sort of as some sort of important person, we may not be as important or integral as we think.
But we are, because we're the player.
Well, we are because we're the player, so we're the one who succeeds, but I think it's indicative in other areas that there was more than one chosen undead.
Well, the game is very, it's really tricky because you get lied to a lot, and it's never really explained what even this prophecy is or anything. I mean, it's very...
And also, this prophecy might also be a lie set up specifically to just sort of get certain things in motion.
Yep.
Alright, now I'm human, as you requested.
Great.
Alright.
Try to get invaded.
So are we gonna level up? What should we level up?
I guess. Well, endurance is always good,
Yeah, I
but
mean, my default is
we might as well start getting strength and dexterity up for weapons we'll need, right?
Yeah.
We'll just do endurance for now, and then we'll figure it out. Yeah, basically the way to do this game is, well, if you're melee, you pretty much do dexterity and strength to the level you need it to wield the weapon you want, eventually, and then you just pour everything into endurance and vitality. Is basically how it works. And it's different. If you're a sorcerer, you have to level up intellect, faith for a cleric, and things like that. But for melee classes, it's basically just endurance.
I am Petrus of Thorolund.
And this is another we meet NPCs all over from different... this guy's from Thorolund, which is a very faith cleric-based
Hello there.
area.
I realize that but I also want you to... Here. No, go ahead. I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some mirror? Would that please you? Very well. Then first...
Yeah, and so this guy is the first we hear of miracles and of
Now,
covenants.
Only there are... Come again.
Talk to me.
The effective...
Which covenants are a feature that is mostly based around the PvP of the game and don't have a lot of effects on PvE, although a couple do. Most of them involve choosing a covenant and then doing certain actions that will raise your ranking in that covenant. And then this area brings up an interesting idea that every item that you find in this game is put in a place for a reason. None of the items are randomized, and all of them are put in certain locations in order to tell you something about a character or location. And so in this instance, we have found a treasure trove hidden near Patris of Thorland, the NPC we just talked to. And in here we found a Morning Star and a Talisman, which are the accoutrements of a cleric, so that we can deduce that this is his stash. But then we also find the cracked red-eye orb, which, if we look at the description, allows you to invade another person's world.
And this is also foreshadowing the Dark Wraiths and that whole
Yes.
situation in New Londo, which we will get to soon.
Yes. But by putting these here, we are given just the slightest hint that our buddy Patris of Thorland, despite being a cleric, may not be a holy person.
Wait, time out. This is Petrus's stuff?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I think the deduction is that because it has cleric stuff in it, like the Morning Star and the Talisman and the Lloyd Talisman and the Homeward Bones, that it's his stuff. And also because it's very close to it.
Okay. Well, he is an evil dick, as we
Yeah,
found
he
out.
is actually
I guess
evil,
makes
so it
sense.
makes sense that this would be the setup for that.
And that's what I get for not paying attention to stuff. And this is also, all these things are, of course, side stuff that we're just doing now ahead of time, just to get the items in the area. You know, when you start the game the first time, you have quite a bit of freedom as to where you go and where to try to find out. And basically, the way you find out where you're supposed to go is because it's the area you don't get one-shotted in by enemies.
Yeah, it's very open in that you can go anywhere, but if you go one direction, you meet skeletons that you can't actually kill. If you go another direction, you meet ghosts that you can't actually kill. And if you go a third direction, then you meet, like, hollow soldiers that you can fight more or less. So you'd sort of figure out that that's where you're supposed to go.